Alcaptonuria. Imagine your body as a high school chemistry lab. Most days, it's really just the usual, mix chemicals up, break the toxic ones down, and just try to keep you alive. Now, if you have alcaptonuria, aka ACU, one particular chemical in your body would practically just go off script and cause a deadly reaction that would make the chemical that breaks down proteins like amino acids in your body pack up and go on a permanent strike. They would just completely stop working. As a result of this, your body would start to store up a toxin called homogentisic acid, HGA, like squirrels storing nuts in a frenzy. Well, this would cause a serious problem because the excess HGA toxin would basically start to decay inside your body. And just like a leaky pen would stain your pockets if it stays there for a while, HGA would leak all over your insides for years, slowly turning them black. It would affect all your connective muscles like your joints, ear, cartilage, and even your eyes. You'd first start peeing pitch black urine, and eventually your joints and spinal cord would get painfully stiff, and every time you try to walk or even attempt to move your body, you'd feel like a rusty old door hinge that needs to be drowned in engine oil. Most people do not realize they have this condition until their 30s or 40s, but if you notice that your pee is suddenly looking like ink, then you should probably start looking into coffin options and prices in your area. HutchinsonGuilford Pereria syndrome. HutchinsonGuilford Pereria syndrome, HGPS, is a rare condition where kids age super fast, like they've hit the fast forward button on life. Imagine you're watching a kid's life in fast motion, like a YouTube video set to 2x speed. Before you know it, they've gone from diapers to dentures faster than you can say cheese. This syndrome happens because of a tiny problem in a gene, which usually makes a protein that keeps our cells in shape. However, this syndrome affects that protein-making gene, and it then does the total opposite of keeping our cells in shape. This gene mutation comes as a total surprise to most people because it's not even something parents pass on to their kids. It's just a random blip that turns the body's clock into a time-lapse camera. By the time you're just a toddler, you'll be rocking the Mr. Clean look with shiny bald heads because all your hair has fallen out already. As you get older, you'll practically look smaller and lighter than all of your mates, like someone who's permanently stuck in Hobbit mode. Aside from looking like you're 90 years old when you actually just turned 9, you would also experience excruciating muscle pain and severe health issues like stroke and heart disease, which would eventually lead to a premature death. Fish odor syndrome. So, you're on a first date at one of the finest restaurants in town. You've showered, put on your best clothes, and even splurged on some expensive cologne. But as you sit down, your date's nose wrinkles like there's a really offensive smell coming from somewhere. Your date even calls the waiter to ask if there's a fish market nearby. But guess what? You're the fish market, and the stinky odor is coming from you. This is a crazy medical condition called fish odor syndrome, in which your body decides to turn you into a walking, talking fish stick. And not the fresh, just caught kind. We're talking about that pungent, been out in the sun too long kind of fish smell. This condition happens when the enzymes that are supposed to break down a compound called trimethylamine, TMA, literally stops working. You see, these enzymes turn food into odorless compounds, so when they are faulty, the TMA builds up and escapes through your sweat, breath, and urine, resulting in a powerful fishy odor that could literally make you gag. The cruel twist about living with this condition is that you can't smell it yourself, making it a stealthy, stinky sabotage. You're walking around smelling like the catch of the day without a single clue. This smelly disease affects about 1 in 10,000 people, and unfortunately, there is no cure yet, but scientists are still fishing for a solution. Anhydrosis. Now, summer is finally here, and you plan to have the best time ever. There's so many beach parties to go to and so many adventurous sports to try. However, on the first day, you notice that while everyone else is sweating buckets, your body is as dry as the Sahara Desert, even though you participated in every sport and activity. You actually have a condition known as anhydrosis, which is a situation in which your sweat glands are either absent or not functioning properly. Now, while this might sound like a dream come true for those who dread sweaty armpits during presentations, it can actually be a bit of a nightmare when it comes to keeping your body cool. This is because sweating is just like your body's way of turning on the AC. When you get too hot, your body sweats to cool you down as the heat evaporates. Now, just imagine what happens when the AC breaks down. You'll be like a car without a radiator, and overheating becomes a real concern. You'd constantly feel dizzy and tired with painful muscle cramps. Sometimes you'd even faint because your body can't cool down properly. It's like trying to run a marathon in a wool sweater, uncomfortable and risky. Unfortunately, there's no magic switch to turn your sweat glands back on, but you can focus on managing symptoms and preventing overheat. You should avoid strenuous activities during hot weather, stay hydrated, and use cooling sprays constantly. Xenoglossy. Let's say you're a 30-year-old accountant from New Jersey who knows only how to speak English and the little hola in Spanish you learned in high school. However, one perfectly uneventful Tuesday morning, you overhear two Italian tourists struggling to order their cappuccinos, and without missing a beat, you turn to them and, in flawless Italian, ask if they need help. The tourists are delighted, and before you know it, you're deep in conversation about the best local attractions, the nuances of Italian politics, and why pineapple on pizza is an international crime. Well, what you've just experienced is xenoglossy, a strange condition that suddenly gives you the ability to speak or write in a language you've never actually studied or even heard before. It's like your brain found a hidden download language button and decided to show off. Latin? Sure, why not? Arabic? Piece of cake. This rare condition is often tied to past experiences or spiritual phenomena. So, if you suddenly find yourself speaking fluent Mandarin or cracking ancient hieroglyphics without even breaking a sweat, don't rush to update your LinkedIn profile just yet. It might just be xenoglossy. Dystonia. Dystonia is like when your body decides it wants to become a very rebellious teenager, breaking all the rules it's supposed to follow. Imagine trying to walk across the room and your legs suddenly decide to bend backwards and twist without giving the rest of your body a heads up. You'd basically just land on the ground like a sack of potatoes, looking confused and embarrassed. This condition is a brain disorder that affects body movements and makes your muscles contract uncontrollably, causing repetitive movements or awkward postures. You see, dystonia can affect only one part of your body or be a full body experience. Either way, it'll feel like you have different dance crews in your body, each with its unique, unpredictable style. It can be annoying and pretty painful. The exact cause of dystonia is often a mystery, but it can be due to genetic factors, brain injuries, or certain diseases. It's like your nervous system decided to add chaos to your system just to keep things interesting. Narcolepsy. Narcolepsy is like having an over-enthusiastic sleep fairy who sprinkles you with sleepy dust at random moments. Imagine being at a party, having a great time with friends, and your brain suddenly decides it's time for a power nap. This condition messes with your sleep-wake cycles, causing excessive daytime sleepiness and sudden bouts of sleep. It's like your body has a mischievous switch that flips you into sleep mode without warning. Your body's sleep-wake cycle is like a faulty alarm clock that keeps going off when you least expect it. Picture a cat that naps 18 hours a day. Now imagine that cat is you, but you still need to function like a human. Now, we actually have two main types of narcolepsy. Type 1 with cataplexy and type 2 without cataplexy. With cataplexy, it's basically like a surprise muscle relaxation party triggered by strong emotions like laughter or surprise. You could be laughing at a joke and suddenly find yourself on the floor, not because it was that funny, but because your muscles decided to take a break. This condition is often caused by a lack of hypocretin, which is the chemical that helps to regulate sleep and wakefulness. However, genetics, infections, or even brain injuries can play a role in this sleep saga. Not only would you feel sleepy all the time, but you'll also have sleep paralysis and vivid dreamlike hallucinations that can happen when falling asleep or waking up. It's like your dreams decide to spill over into your reality. You can be amongst the very first people to know about all these strange and mysterious conditions if you join our Discord server today. Brewery Syndrome. Now, Brewery Syndrome, ABS, is a rare and unusual condition where your gut ferments carbohydrates into alcohol, and your digestive system essentially becomes a brewery, producing ethanol, alcohol, and making you feel drunk without even touching a single drop of booze. It literally turns your gut into a freaking DIY pub. So the thing is, when you eat carbs, they're supposed to be broken down and used for energy, but if you have this condition, certain yeast and bacteria in your gut would go rogue and start fermenting those carbs into alcohol instead. It's like having a team of tiny overzealous brewers in your gut working overtime every time you eat bread or pasta to get you drunk. You'll talk like you're tipsy, stagger around, and experience sudden mood swings and irritability similar to the effects of alcohol. Imagine trying to explain to someone that your odd behavior is due to your gut's microbrewery, not a secret trip to the bar. Stoneman Syndrome. You've always been very athletic, but for the past few months, you've started to feel very stiff and your muscles have been aching really hard. Soon after, it feels like your body is literally turning turning into stone. You quickly rush to the hospital where the doctors tell you have an extremely rare condition known as fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, FOP, aka Stoneman Syndrome. Normally, your body knows when and where to create bone, but this genetic mutation messes with that process, causing all your soft tissues like your tendons, muscles, and ligaments to harden into bone. It's like having an overenthusiastic sculptor inside you who thinks every part of your body needs to be solidified. FOP occurs due to a mutation in a gene which controls bone growth, and the first symptom of this condition usually appears in early childhood as an abnormally large toe. As you get older, painful lumps and swelling that are often mistaken for tumors or injuries would start to appear and eventually harden into bone. And as bone forms in muscles and joints, movement becomes restricted, making it harder to move and bend. There's no cure for FOP right now, and the treatments mainly focus on managing all your symptoms and preventing any complication. Doctors also strictly advise surgery because removing the bones would just cause more to form. It's like trying to chisel away at a statue. You might end up with even more marble. Rett Syndrome. Rett Syndrome is a rare genetic disorder that affects brain development in girls, making it the girls-only club nobody asked to join. It occurs in about 1 in 10,000 female births worldwide, which is about as common as finding a pearl in your oyster at a seafood restaurant. As a baby, your life starts off looking perfect. You're hitting those milestones like a champ, maybe even ahead of schedule. Your parents are probably bragging about how you're going to be the next Einstein. But then, usually between 6 and 18 months, it's like your development hits the brakes, does a U-turn, and starts heading in reverse. Suddenly, those skills you worked so hard to learn start slipping away faster than sand through your fingers. Your hands, once reaching for toys and Cheerios, now engage in repetitive movement. It's as if they're constantly washing an invisible car or wringing out non-existent laundry. Walking becomes a serious challenge, and speaking becomes as rare as a unicorn sight. Your brain knows what it wants to say, but it's like the words get lost on their way to your mouth. Angelman Syndrome. Everyone who has met your 8-month-old daughter Jane says she's the happiest kid they've ever met. But truly, her smile is brighter than a toothpaste commercial, and she giggles more than a hyena at a comedy club. As a parent, you are thrilled, thinking you've hit the jackpot in the baby lottery. But as Jane grows, you notice that she's more interested in flapping her hands than learning the ABCs, and her vocabulary is mostly enthusiastic grunts and giggles. Turns out Jane's got Angelman Syndrome, a rare genetic disorder that causes developmental disabilities and nerve-related symptoms such as frequent smiling and laughter, lack of crawling and babbling, minimal speech, and inability to walk, move, or balance well. The syndrome is caused by a missing or defective gene, which provides instructions for making proteins that perform various roles in the body. It's like Mother Nature decided to play a cosmic joke and hit the mute button on a specific part of your daughter's DNA, and the result is a happy-go-lucky kid with a few extra challenges. Angelman syndrome is not usually detected until developmental delays become noticeable when a baby is about 6 to 12 months old and affects about 1 in 12,000 to 20,000 people worldwide. However, despite all the challenges, children with Angelman syndrome often have a downright infectious joy for life. So while little Jane might never win a spelling bee, at least she's guaranteed to win every heart she meets with her megawatt smile.